Hey everybody, so today I'm here to talk about baby-led weaning, our experience, what it was, things that we've been loving, product-wise, stuff like that. So I just wanted to say first and foremost that every baby, every child, infant, whatever you would like to call them, is different. Every one of them develops differently. Every one of them will require a different approach. So first and foremost, make your own decisions based off of your own child, what they're doing, their development, your pediatrician's recommendations, things like that. So this is not like a how-to or what you should do. This is just an account based off of us. And it will also not be a meal planning video or anything like that. I got a lot of inspiration from the course that I took that I'll talk about here in a little bit, and I stand by that. They gave a lot of information around that, and I also got just here and there some different inspiration, but I do post regularly on my Instagram. I have a whole highlight for baby-led weaning, so if you ever want to hop over there, you can click through and see the different things that I feed her. But I could be here for an hour talking about all the different options that you have meal-wise. If you would like a, what our baby eats in a day kind of video, then you can leave that comment down below and maybe I can get around to doing one of those for you guys. But today it's just going to strictly be about what baby-led weaning is, our approach to it, how it's been working, and like I said, at the very end, I'll mention some products we like, and then also answer some questions that I got from Instagram. So first off, I want to read this definition by Wikipedia. Now, my senior year honors English teacher would be appalled at the fact that I'm using Wikipedia as a source, but I really like the definition that they supplied, so I'm just going to quote them. It says, baby-led weaning, often referred to BLW, is a method of adding complementary foods to a baby's diet of breast milk or formula. Baby-led weaning facilitates the development of age-appropriate oral motor control while maintaining eating as a positive interactive experience. It also allows babies to control their solid food consumption by self-feeding from the very beginning of their experiences with food. The term weaning should not be taken to imply giving up breast milk or formula, but simply the introduction of foods other than breast milk or formula. So I really liked that because I feel like that encompasses everything that baby-led weaning is about. So on to why it interested us. First and foremost, we have not really done baby-led weaning with our older girls. Our two older girls, they had medical needs. They were in feeding therapy for, bottle feeding and stuff like that. We did have feeding therapy involved with solid feeding as well because we did not want their issues to transfer from liquids to solids. But we always had to take whatever was just the approach that they responded best to. So we never really got to do something out of our own interest or just trying something. It was never a laid back experience. It was always around medical professionals. It was also always constantly changing because of whatever they needed feeding wise. Now, thankfully, their youngest sister, Lexi, she has not had any feeding issues whatsoever. So we have been able to, just do something that we've wanted to try, and that is baby-led weaning. It interested us just from the self-feeding aspect. We are very interested in things like that, like the Montessori method with older kids, or well, I shouldn't say older kids, you can start that from a baby as well, but just things that teach a lot of independence and self-reliance and things like that. So we really like that, and I liked the idea of letting her feed herself. That is just something that intrigued us, so we went ahead and talked to her pediatrician, and we had a little bit of a game plan, and that's just basically the reason why we were interested in it, because of the self-feeding aspect. So on to the research that I did beforehand. So I would recommend that you do your own research before jumping into baby-led weaning, just about readiness signs, safe practices, other really helpful info. Please do not just watch my video and take it as a how-to and then go ahead and jump in. I would definitely recommend going other places, getting as much information, factual information that you can get, and just getting yourself a well-rounded acquaintance with the topic. I do highly recommend the course that I took. It was Feeding Little's infant feeding course. It was $60, which I know is expensive. I think there's a $5 coupon that I got for signing up for their mailing list, but I would highly recommend it. Like I said, $55, $60, pretty much the same thing. But either way, I would do it again in a heartbeat. It was so thorough. It went over a lot of basics. It also does touch on things like spoon feeding and pouch feeding, things that isn't necessarily what their course is typically about, but they still educate you about those as well, and some practices to do if that's what you are looking into, which was really helpful because you'll see we kind of like have a hybrid to baby-led weaning right now. But basically, I stand by this course 110%. They go over different safety practices. They show you what gagging babies look like to just kind of prepare you, show you what to expect. They go over so many different meal ideas. They go over different vitamins and, how to offer different types of food. Like, it is so thorough, but it's not long either. It's not going to take you several hours to complete. I think mine took me 2 days, about an hour each, and I was completely done. I took notes. They also have print-offs, just a lot of great info. So I highly recommend it. I will link it down below. Can't say enough good things. They do have an Instagram, but I've looked through their Instagram and not nearly as much information on there as their course, so I would still highly recommend it. But I just wanted that to be said. I think doing your own research, becoming really educated in it so that you know what to expect and the different practices that go into it so that you're safely doing baby-led weaning is really important. So as far as readiness goes, the AAP and WHO recommend at 6 months to introduce solids. There's not a lot of significant benefits to doing it beforehand. And as far as other readiness signs, little assistance while sitting, a good upper body control, bringing things to their mouth, they are interested in food, and also that they're able to track things with their eyes. Now, I will say that Lexi wasn't quite ready with the whole trunk control. She could control her head rather well, but when she would sit up, she was a little bobby, she just would kind of bounce all over the place. And when she was sitting, she would have to use her hands a good bit. So we actually practiced with her, and after a couple weeks it got a lot better. So I highly recommend looking closely at your child with those readiness signs. And if they're not ready, there's no rush whatsoever. So you can practice with them. With Lexi, literally all we did is we just sat behind her on the floor while she sat, and we just practiced with her for her to be able to keep better balance. I'm just really glad that we took the time to really work on those things. So don't think even at 6 months old that baby is just, ready to go. And it's okay to look and say, my kid could work on that. So that's what we did. And like I said, it only took about a couple weeks and she was doing a lot better. So as far as getting started, I think it is important to know a few things. First off, I know we've all heard the phrase food before one is just for fun, and that's not the case. That's something that I learned even in my breastfeeding specialist course. They taught us about that as well. Food before one is not just for fun. It actually develops a lot of different aspects with baby. The quantity of what they're consuming is not important. However, their exposure is. It's developing a lot of things like their sensory, their motor, their language, and their social skills. So all of that is very important. So food before one is not just for fun. And as far as allergies go, I know that, after having 3 kids, my oldest is 5.5, my middle daughter is 4, and my youngest is 10 months old. So there's been a lot of different recommendations over the years. And I know with my older girls, I was always told to try a new food every 4 to 5 days. And that's not really seeming to be the recommendation anymore. Now, if your family or your child has a history of allergies or intolerances, this is an entirely different conversation. That's obviously something that you need to discuss with their medical professionals. Obviously, do whatever you're comfortable with, but our approach, we did not wait every 4 to 5 days to give her a new food. Honestly, most times we were giving her several new foods at a time. The only thing is that Lexi is intolerant to when I consume dairy. So for that reason, dairy products with her is something that we have been moving rather slow on. The only thing we've introduced so far is Greek yogurt, and we just take that very slowly because she does have that intolerance. So that's something just to be aware of. And like I said, if you have any hesitations, any questions, any concerns, obviously talk to your pediatrician and, do what makes you comfortable. Also, another thing that I always heard is give vegetables before fruits, because that way babies won't prefer fruit over vegetables. But the thing is that breast milk and formula are pretty sweet. I'm sure that, a lot of us aren't going around drinking our kids' bottles, but I know that just off of my breastfeeding specialist education that both of them do have a decent amount of sweetness to them. So babies are already used to something pretty sweet that they're consuming on a regular basis. So giving fruits over veggies, I don't really think is a huge concern here either. Again, do whatever you would like to do, but don't think that you have to do things a certain way because you've heard that. old age kind of advice. So if baby does not have a pincer grasp, and this is what a pincer grasp is, so if they do not have that and they are palming things, you're going to want to go ahead and put things into strips. They don't have to be perfect strips. So with that, if they have peels, you can leave half of it on, like if it's an orange or a banana, things like that. But if it's a skin, like a cucumber or a tomato, you are going to want to peel that because they are not going to be able to eat through that, and it's just going to add more trouble. It's not a peel, something definitely they would not be able to chew through, but it's just not really safe at this point. So you'll want to go ahead and peel that off. Also, something that can help with texture is a crinkle cutter, and you can use that to add some texture so they're able to grip it a little bit better. Also, a little tip here with bananas, I know that those can be pretty slippery and stuff like that, but we actually like to take the banana and just poke your finger at the end and just push downwards, and it'll create like little spears of bananas, and they're not slippery at all. It was something that I saw on TikTok and I thought was genius, because I know bananas have historically been a pretty messy, hard to manage food because of how slippery they can get. But yeah, if you just take one end of the banana and you poke your finger through the end of it, it'll just kind of make its own spears. It's really cool. So I highly recommend that. It's been great for Lexi because she doesn't really like the peel on the banana. And then also with hard fruits and vegetables, you are going to want to steam, saute, roast, or shred them. So things like carrots, apples, pears, broccoli, things like that are too hard, you're going to want to do those things to soften them up a bit for baby. Now, if we have a really wet food, like if there's broth with something, then we might mix that into her sweet potatoes and give that to her on a loaded spoon. And of course, you're going to want to make sure that you are offering the correct age-appropriate size pieces. You know, if things are like a grape or things that are spears, you're going to want to quarter those just so it's not a choking hazard. So as long as it's not something that is like that shape, like a spear, you do want it to stay together as much as possible. So if you're offering something like rice, you can mix it in with some avocado and put it on a loaded spoon. That way baby is better able to handle it. It's not so hard for them, especially if they don't have the pincer grasp. Things that are small are going to be really hard for them to manage because they want to palm it, but they're not able to put those little pieces into their mouth. So something like rice and avocado would allow them to really grab a lot, and it could squeeze through their hands and they could get it that way. Or if you put it on a loaded spoon, they'll be able to take the spoon to their mouth and the rice won't just fall off everywhere. So, you know, this is kind of getting into the territory of where my course really came in handy, because there was a lot of different things that I was like, okay, but how do I offer this? How do I offer that? How do I make this safe for her or interesting or, you know, doesn't get everywhere, that kind of stuff. And they were so insightful. Like I said, whether it was toast, whether it was peanut butter or hummus, you know, like literally so many different things they had a recommendation for. And that's why I highly encourage it, because it was so helpful in a lot of different ways. But there's a lot of things to know during this process as well. So as their skills progress, you'll be able to go from offering strips to clumps to small pieces. And Lexi is teetering on the small pieces because she does have her pincer now. But yeah, we were doing strips at first, and honestly I still do strips. Just because they can use their pincer doesn't mean that you can't ever offer a strip of food again. You're still able to. Also, some other important things to know during this is that gagging is normal, spitting out food is normal, making a mess is normal, not eating a lot is normal. All of that is completely normal. This is an entirely new experience for them. They are learning, and all of those things are part of the process of the learning. So also, I think it's highly recommended that you guys take a CPR class. I know that my husband is certified in CPR, so he was able to teach me a lot of things, but I will also leave some resources down below. There's an Instagram account that I follow. She is a nurse, and if you're not able to afford going to a CPR class, you're not able to right now with everything that's going on, she does have some highlights on her Instagram that are very informational on infant and also child choking. So I will link her Instagram down below. Having a game plan for the worst case scenario can help you feel a bit better about things moving forward. About the gagging, this is something that was personally one of the hardest parts for me. It was something that's really hard for me to watch. It's very hard for me not to act on, but knowing the difference between gagging and choking is a real highlight here. There is a big difference. Gagging is to prevent choking. It's trying to get that food up and out of their throat. So they are working on it. With gagging, you'll be able to hear them breathing. They might be talking. They could be coughing, things like that. Choking is silent. Choking is a problem. Choking is an immediate emergency. So there is a big difference between the two. Honestly, my husband has been a huge help with it because he is well aware of that difference as well, but he is not as, I don't know how to say it, but he's not as spooked as easily as I am. So when she was gagging at first, it was very hard for me not to act on it. And he would sit and remind me that she is gagging. We can hear her breathing. She is working on it. And every time she gagged, she was able to get up whatever she was working on. I will say the first couple times she actually ended up throwing up some food. She went right back to it. She did not care at all that she even threw up. It did not faze her in the slightest, but I did want to mention that. But as she has gotten better at eating, she has also gotten better at this as well. Gagging is their body's own teaching tool to them, and she has progressively got better with it as well. Before, it was taking a little bit of time for her to get it up, and that's why she would end up throwing up. But now she can gag like once, maybe twice, and she's able to get that food up just like that, and she does really well with it. It also does not stress us out nearly as much anymore. It doesn't stress her out. I don't think it ever really did. Honestly, like I said, once she gets the food up, she's right back to eating. She does not mind it whatsoever. But yes, being well aware of the differences. I know it's hard to watch, but knowing those differences, knowing when there's a problem versus them working on something is huge. Also, the course, like I mentioned, did show different videos of children gagging, which is super helpful to me. You know, I didn't really know how to go about looking up videos like that, but they included one in their course, and it was just really key in me being a little bit more comfortable. So you can start with just a piece or two of food. Honestly, it helps if you're eating in front of them. We found, you know, when we were offering her food at first, it was kind of at an odd time just because all of our schedules were a little bit different and we weren't eating with her, so she didn't really even know what to do with it. But as she's came to eat with us and we would just even take bites out of what we were offering her, she would immediately mimic us and she would pick up what we were trying to offer her. So I think that can be huge. You know, if they don't really know what to do with the food, take a bite yourself. Show them how, you know, what you're offering them, how they can do it, things like that. Your baby definitely at first probably won't eat much, and that's okay. I'm going to read something that is straight out of the course because I enjoyed reading this a lot. They said, babies should decide how much. They don't know how to overeat. Your baby is meant to be a certain size with a certain appetite. Others will eat more and less, and that's okay. That was huge for me as a mom whose kids have had feeding issues in the past. You know, with giving them solids, I feel like most people compared them to other kids their age and they wondered why they didn't eat a lot or they ate differently. And for me, it was always something that I felt a lot of guilt about, but every child is different. And especially if your child does have feeding issues, it is going to look very different than typical. And that was just very reassuring to hear. You know, Lexi doesn't always eat the same amount every single time. Sometimes she eats a lot. Sometimes she hardly touches anything on her plate. It's all okay. They are supposed to decide if they want to eat, how much they want to eat, all of those things. So that's kind of like part of the whole point of this baby-led weaning. It's entirely up to them. I will say that the course did recommend feeding schedules, but I think that's a highly personal decision, and honestly that's going to be really based on your child. I know that with Lexi, right now she should technically at 10 months old be on 3 meals a day. Homegirl is not interested. She can barely be bothered to eat twice a day. The first time I feed her is a little bit earlier in the afternoon now, like a little around lunchtime, maybe a little bit later, and I can hardly get her to eat anything. She's interested, but not as interested at dinner time, and she is like ready to eat then. She loves it. So I feel like that will just come with time. You know, some kids could fall in the 3 meals a day right away. They could be in love with it and do it no problem. But I have seen with all of my girls, that just comes with time. Like the older they get, the more interested they're eating in solid foods and the more that they get consistent about that. You know, I feel like my older girls were definitely like a year and a half before they were eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But, you know, it is a recommendation. I would just say that personally, our kids have never followed that. So, don't be surprised if your kids don't either. So you can offer liquids, and honestly, I'm pretty sure it's encouraged with baby-led weaning that they do have liquids with food. You can do water, breast milk, formula. I will say be careful with water though. Under 1, water is not a necessity, especially because their water intake is included with their formula and breast milk. They don't need extra water. So just make sure that you're not giving them a ton of water. It is a problem with younger kids getting too much, so just be well aware of that if they are under 1. But I will say that we give her a sippy cup. Now, the recommendation from my course was that open cups are the best. Literally just an open cup, giving them a 1-2 count sip and then taking it away. Doing stuff like that was really encouraged. But with Lexi, I wanted to give her a straw cup. It's worked really well for my oldest daughter. My middle daughter was a chewer and she really liked those 360 spoutless cups. But I would say straw and spoutless cups have been the biggest home runs for us. So we started Lexi on a straw and she loves that. It did take her a little while to figure out. I think she didn't get it for a couple months, but once she did, you should have seen her. She was smiling. She was so excited every time she got a sip of something, but it just kind of depends. Sometimes I offer breast milk. Sometimes I offer just a little bit of water. So as far as our experience as a whole, I do really like baby-led weaning. I had a lot of questions. I was unsure about a lot of stuff. I even had some concerns. And like I said, I took that course and it answered all of it. It really did make me feel so much better. It gave me a lot of confidence and it gave me a lot of inspiration. So, the link that I'm going to leave below is not a referral. It's not affiliate. I literally get nothing out of it. I'm just recommending this course to you because it was so informational. You guys know that I love doing my homework and making sure that I'm getting as much info as I can, and I highly recommend this course if you're interested, just like I am. I did have hesitations at first, but after I got done with it, I felt like very confident in moving forward and very sure. And the more that we did things, the more confident that we all became. So she did start off slow at first. Like I said, she didn't really know what to do with anything, but us showing her how we're eating with her getting more acquainted with foods, her trusting us because whenever we give her loaded spoons, we'll load it back up for her. And at first she didn't want to give us the spoon, but now she knows that mommy and daddy will give it right back. So she's able to hand it off to us. Just a lot of different building things. Like I said, it does involve a lot of different skills, social skills, motor skills, sensory, everything. And the more we did it, the more we found our groove, and she's come to really like some foods, really not like others, stuff like that. Her favorite food, I would say, is hummus and blackberries. She'll devour some plain hummus. Homegirl loves it. She is a hummus fiend. But yeah, baby-led weaning in a whole has been really great. I have really enjoyed it. I think it's been a really unique experience. It's really great to have a relaxed, at-home, chill experience with feeding for once. And I will say, reflecting, if you want me to compare our experiences, which I feel like I can only do to an extent given the circumstances, but we've done purees, we've done solids, we've done a mixture of everything. And honestly, I'm not going to sit here and say that one is better than the other, especially because my kids did have feeding issues. Those experiences showed me that it's not whatever I'm interested in, it's what's best for my child. I really don't think that there's one right way to introduce solids. I really do think that it's whatever is best for your child. And I think the best people to make that decision is you, their medical professionals, just doing your homework, knowing what your child is ready for, what they seem interested in, and what works best for them. So, I don't want to sit here and say baby-led weaning is so much better than this way, because I just don't know that I believe that. I think in the long run, I'd be surprised if you see a huge difference. My older girls, they eat a pretty well-rounded diet. They are pretty much willing to try anything once at least. And, they were on purees and they had baby cereal, which I know people hate now. And, there's just so many different things. And I don't know that in the long run it matters that much how we're feeding them. But I will say that this has been a fun experience, and I think it is a bit more of an independent way for baby to feed themselves. And I do really like that aspect. I do like the self-feeding. Okay, so I scooched you guys back so I was able to get some of this stuff in frame. But please keep in mind that while these are our favorite accessories, this by no means that you need all of this. I will say that I think everything is pretty reasonably priced. You know, you don't have to have any of this stuff. It can be as simple as sitting your baby in a high chair and, you know, letting them be naked and getting on with having some food. But these things have made our experience a little bit easier, a little bit cleaner, easier to manage, stuff like that. So I thought I would share them. So the first thing, the little bit of a pricier thing, but I'm going to link you to Bye Bye Baby, and I'm pretty sure you can use a 20% off coupon on this, but it is the UpSeat. Now this is a seat that I got sent to review. I will have a review coming very soon for you guys, but as you can see, it is very different than most baby seats. I really like this because it is encouraged that with baby-led weaning, you also have their feet supported, and with this, I'm able to accomplish that. And it is so simple because it comes with a tray as well. So all you do is you just put this on here, snaps underneath, and you've got a little high chair. This works so well. You are able to put buckles on here and also put it on a seat as well. And I just really enjoy this because it's super easy to clean. It's not a big, bulky high chair. We've honestly stopped using our other high chairs since we've gotten this seat because it is so much easier. Obviously, it's a ton smaller than a traditional high chair, and it can just be a seat itself. You can have the tray, you can have it off, like whatever, but I've really liked it for baby-led weaning because things do get really messy, and I just wipe this out. I've even stuck it in my sink, and I've washed it before, and then I'm going in no particular order, just literally pulling things from behind me. But this is the sleeved bibs that we use. This is the Bumkins brand. Is that what it's called? Bumkins. Bumkins. I always put a P in there. There's no P in Bumkins. I did it again. But it is a sleeved bib. I think these say they go all the way up to 24 months. She has started wearing these since 7 months old, and they are big on her, but we're able to pull the sleeves up and they fit her just fine, and she can continue to fit in these because they're not tight whatsoever. But as you can see, it's just got the little sleeves, and then it's got a tie in the back, and it does have a little pocket down here, and it's pretty long. As a 10-month-old, this still sits in her lap for the most part, so it does get a lot of food, you know, that would drop, and it also obviously covers her entire arm and her chest and everything. We love these. And then as far as her sippy cup, this is the one that I got her. It is the Munchkin stainless one. I think it's like a cat or something, but it's got this lid. I do typically, being honest, I typically take that off. I just have it around in case we go somewhere with it, but this is how I give it to her. The handles do come off. There's water in here because we had just given this to her, but the handles do come off. So if your kid grows out of that, you can just take them right off, which is really cool. But I like this because I like stainless steel sippy cups, especially in the summertime to keep their drinks cool. But I would highly recommend the sippy cup if you're a nursing mom. It's not a simple flow sippy cup. It gets all of the air out of the straw every single time that they're done drinking. So for that reason, they do really have to suck and try to pull out whatever is in here. So if you are a nursing mom, I would highly encourage this sippy cup. It is great. They have a bunch of different colors too. Obviously, I just got pink for her. So the last couple of things are the two things that I think I use the most aside from her seat, and that is our crinkle cutter and also the spoons that we use. Now, I couldn't find the other spoon to go with it, but these are called GOOtensils. I didn't clean this one super well, so I'm not going to give you an up close shot because there's still some hummus in here. But these are just little spoons. Now, the other spoon that comes with it, because it does come as a set, it just doesn't have any slots in here. So it would just be a whole little flat spoon. That is the one that we use the most. I use this purple one for like berries or things that I'm squishing because it'll grab it and it'll hold it, and that way she is able to put those things in her mouth. And with the one that does not have any holes, I put things like, you know, hummus, sweet potato, things like a loaded spoon on there. I think there's like an age range that you're supposed to technically use them as, but that's what I do. That's how I use them. And the crinkle cutter is super inexpensive. I think it's like around $7 on Amazon, and it does exactly what it sounds like. It just crinkle cuts things. It's very sharp. Highly recommend it. It's something that I've really liked having. These two, if nothing else, are the things that we use the most often. And yeah, basically all you need other than that is a baby bathtub because things do get messy. I guess I kind of forgot to mention what we are doing right now, and we are doing baby-led weaning, but for her first meal of the day, we are doing baby pouches just because they're easier. It's such a busy time of the day. it was just a lot to do baby-led weaning then. And honestly, I found that she wasn't eating a lot, but with the pouches, she does eat a good bit sometimes, not every time. Like I said, she decides when is enough for her. Okay, so to answer some questions over on Instagram about this quickly, does it take a toll on you emotionally? Like I said, the gagging does. That is something that is pretty stressful for me, but like I mentioned, it does get easier the more I saw it, and now it is a really great experience and it's been really fun. The next question is all the questions. It's so hard. Everywhere says to do something different. Again, do whatever you would like. Do your research, look at what your baby is ready for, talk to your pediatrician, and from there, make the best decision that you can. There is no right way or wrong way to do things. That is what I've come to decide after 3 kids, all of which have had very different feeding experiences. The next one is, what were the foods that you started with? I do believe her first foods were on Easter, and she had sweet potato, broccoli, and green beans, I believe, were her first foods. And then we went on to carrot and banana. Yes. And from there, we just kept that kind of going. So it's really hard to tell you what foods that she's tried because she has tried literally so many at this point that it's really hard to sit here and say everything that she has tried. But yeah, we just kind of went hot and heavy, and we've kept that pace ever since then, basically, except for, like I mentioned, the dairy. The next one isn't really a question, but she said, it seems so messy compared to the old-fashioned way. I mean, it definitely is. You know, that's one of the things that the course also goes over is pros and cons. That's something that you're going to have to weigh for yourself. I know my husband always gripes and moans about it too, but honestly, with something like the sleeved bib, the mess is pretty much contained to their face and their hands. Of course, you have the high chair or whatever, but if you get something that's easily wipeable, it's not that big of a deal, in my opinion. I don't feel like if I have the bib on her, I don't spend any more time cleaning up than I would traditionally. And then the next question is, how do you manage to get all the fresh produce? With the pandemic, we are only shopping once a month. That's really tough. We use baggies with some paper towel in them to absorb the moisture so they don't get moldy. I found that that has also helped making our produce last a little bit longer, but holding off on produce like bananas, kiwis, even cucumbers, things like that, when I buy them at the store, they're not necessarily ready to eat the second I get home, so I save that stuff for later, and I'll eat the stuff that is ready right now, like the berries. Those are always ready to eat. Things like that need to be eaten right now. That's typically how we do it. I know it's tricky right now. Things are not normal. Just doing the best with what you can, you know. And you can also buy frozen fruits and vegetables, so don't be afraid to experiment with things. But that is everything for this video. If you have any more questions, leave them down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and as always, thanks for watching.